Hey, what's up guys, it's Mike with Alpha Reptile back with another video today. Today we have the 19th day of jam-packed July, and I'm bringing to you an update on my isopod cultures, as well as my whole cleanup crew, including the springtails and whatnot. This box here has been one of my oldest running cultures. This one in here actually has the dwarf white isopods. These guys are still doing really well. I don't know how well you can see all that, but yeah, like you can see there's a bunch down here. There's a bunch pretty much all over the place. These are a more kind of burrowing species of isopod, so they definitely stay more in the ground and like fossorial, I guess is the word that would describe them well. They stay mostly in the soil, and they don't mess around very much when it comes to exploring on land and whatnot. Now, if you guys are looking for kind of like a full care on isopods and springtails, I could do that for you, but this isn't really that video. Basically, what I'm going to be throwing in there with them all is the Custodian Fuel by Arcadia. Amazing product, it works wonders, and the animals tend to love it. So that's what I'm going to be throwing in with the isopods, and then with the springtails, I'll be dusting with kind of my own custom mix. You can just see, I throw a couple in there, and that's all they get. So that is it for the dwarf whites. Now we can move on to my other longest running container here. Just for reference, these were started in 2016. May 23rd of 2016, for those of you that are wondering. And these are the dwarf brown isopods. I believe I have the scientific name, I just don't know it off by heart. But you can see there's a ton of them running around all over. Bunch of different ones in here. There's a lot under this little piece of cardboard. There'll be some under here. They tend to like the cardboard more than pretty much anywhere else. But they are doing really, really well, and I'm really happy to see that. I will probably be revamping these cultures here coming up pretty soon because they need a little bit of TLC. I'll probably feed a couple more pieces because they do have more in this culture than the dwarf whites. I'll go one there, one under there, and we'll just throw one right there. And then they can go through, they'll find it all, and they will eat it all. So these are the dwarf browns. They are very easy to keep, very easy to breed, and they do really, really well. So one of the ones that I would recommend for like beginner level people. So these again are more dwarf whites. These guys invaded one of my other cultures and basically outcompeted them. So these are just kind of the culture that I'll probably throw in whichever Viv I do next. I'll probably dump this whole culture in that Viv just so that they can have a really good seeded enclosure. And then I'll throw in a couple of other species as well because, like I said, these guys are very fossorial, so they will stay in the ground the majority of the time. Moving right along here, we have two more cultures. I don't actually even know what these guys are. Let's see. So these are another group of dwarf whites. They're pretty bulletproof, they do really well, they breed super easily, and they take over cultures. So that kind of sucks, but that is the reality of it. And then in here, we got, I believe these are more. Yep, even more. So honestly, I might even dump these two cultures into one as well, because I just have so many dwarf whites that I really do not need this many cultures. And it's also just extra food and stuff that I'm feeding them. Now we move on to some of the cooler stuff. This in here is the Trachylepis rathkai. I don't actually know how many I have, but it looks like we got a couple in there, so that's pretty cool. You can see them down in there. They're doing pretty well. That's good to see. These guys aren't digging very much, which is kind of surprising. But they definitely can if they need to. So these cultures were set up in April of this year. I wrote it on the side of the container, that's the only reason why I know. And I'll throw a little stick of food in here with these guys because there's only like 5 of them in here, so don't want to give them too many options and just have them mold over. These ones were actually these were the ones that had that green lid over top of them that were invaded by the classic dwarf whites. Another container. These guys are one that you guys might be a little bit jealous for. These are the zebra isopods, as they're commonly known. Or I believe these are Armadillium maculatum, I believe is what they are. I don't know if that's 100% correct, but I'm going to give these guys a quick little spray because this terrarium is pretty bone dry. Now, for those of you guys that are watching, if you have recommendations for what kind of wood I could put in here, I do want to start adding wood to all my isopod containers and just giving them an extra piece of furnishing for them to kind of inhabit and eat and consume, then that would be ideal. For these guys, they're doing pretty well. Their populations went down pretty low there for a little while, and then it's starting to climb. I can see there's a bunch of new babies and stuff, so that's super good to see. The last kiss container that we have are the curly isopods, and these guys tend to be a little bit more fossorial, but I can see there's some in here. There's not a whole ton. There are quite a few babies though, so that's actually really promising. I'm pretty happy to see that. You can see a couple running across the screen right now. I will throw in here a little bit of food for them to eat up and hopefully start growing. Their culture went down to like a population of maybe 5. So very low population density, but as you guys can tell, there are quite a few running around and figuring out what the heck's going on right now. So that is the curly isopods. Alrighty, we got 2 here. You guys can actually read that. Skirted isopods and the Porcelloscaber. These were made on April 12th. Oh, there's actually babies in here. No way. Although I think that's actually a different species. There is actually mites in here as well that I can see. But you know what? I am not going to complain as of right now, because these guys are actually starting to do something, and that's kind of nice because they just sat here and did nothing for the longest time. So that's unfortunate that there's mites, but that's why they're on the medium that they're on. If you can see on the desk, like here, you can see that there is some like white powder almost, and basically what that is a mite killer. So it's called diatomaceous earth. Essentially, it gets rid of the mites, or it kills mites and prevents their spread across to other cultures. Over here we have skirted isopods. And these guys look like they're doing really well, actually. Oh, look at all the babies. That's so cool. So these guys look like they're doing very well. I only had a couple to start, and it looks like there's several adults now. And I see a couple babies poking in and out all over the place, so that's really good to see. I'm super happy with that. You guys can see them there. Very cool species. I'll give them some food because they are clearly using it. You guys are reproduce, I'll feed you. And as per many of the other cultures, we're just gonna spray half the Viv here, or half the container, I guess. It's not really a Viv. You can see these guys are quite large compared to the other ones. Your animal might actually eat some of these for a nice little snack. And this is the last isopod culture that I actually have. Shockingly, the last culture of isopods that I have is more dwarf whites, so I'm not going to bore you with them. I'm just going to do my really quick maintenance here, and then we will get going here. And since this is the last culture of isopods, what we're going to do now is move on to the springtails. I'm not going to go into each individual springtail culture, but I'll show you a couple different ones. So these are my springtails here. These are kind of my like production model, I guess, springtails. These are the ones that I feed and I am currently using for my pumilio. You can see there is quite a few of them. So there's a ton running around in there. I'm not gonna open up every single one, but you'll kind of get the gist of it after the first couple here. You can see there's a lot in that one, running around and bouncing and freaking out because I opened their culture. But yeah, these guys are all doing very well. There was a couple that seemed to get starved out, whether it was oxygen or what. I'm not entirely sure, but there is a couple that ended up dying. One of them is right here. Basically what happens is I think they just run out of air pretty much, and then they go sour and die. It's super unfortunate because there's a ton of isopods in here, or a ton of springtails in here. So if you guys are interested in another springtail, I'm gonna keep calling them isopods, but if you guys are interested in another springtail video, let me know. I can do some care, and I know everybody is wondering what I use in my springtail food. I haven't had to make some new batch in a very long time, and it makes a ton, so I never really want to make a new batch without really having the need to make a new batch. But maybe if you guys show enough love for this video, I'll end up posting a quick little springtail recipe that I kind of came up with, I suppose. So I'm actually going to end the video here, you guys. I'm not going to go through all my other springtail cultures. They're all the same. They're all just the white bouncy springtails. I want to thank you all very much for watching. If you've made it to the end of this video, I know it's been a really long video, so thank you very much for sticking around. I really appreciate it, and if you have any video suggestions for the rest of Jam-Packed July, that would be great to hear your suggestions. If you liked the video, drop a like down below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, leave it in the comment section. If you want to see more of Jam-Packed July, make sure you click that subscribe button and play Ding Dong Ditch with the doorbell next to it. That way you are notified every single time I post a video, which is 10 a.m. every day. Thanks for watching, guys. Later.